Everybody, I see the stop broadcast button, which means we are live with VUC number 482. 7 years of the VUC. Well, coming up in about 3 days. Thank you, participants, and thanks to everybody here. We will make the introductions in just a moment. This, for those of you watching live on the YouTube, I was going to say the YouTube URL. Anyway, I know it's a little blurry. This is simply a screen capture so you can get an idea of what it looks like. We should have a better video version recording soon. But right now, live, if you are watching it live, please remember it's a screen capture. It's blurry. Believe me, it's as sharp as a razor's edge for those of us in the Jitsi room. So here we go. Let's start with some thank yous. First of all, we have to go through a little slideshow. This is pretty remarkable, by the way. You can't see it again on the YouTube, unfortunately, but it's crystal clear slides thanks to the Prezi presentation. I'd like to thank Simwood.com. Simwood will give you an API that turns developers into telcos. You can, if your developer is good as Tim Panton, it's definitely going to turn you into a telco. OnSIP.com is our host of PBX. You can get a free clickable link that will connect you with anyone. You just send them the link. They click on it. They don't have to join anything or talk to anybody. And they click on that link. And then you're talking browser to browser. WebRTC in action, as you'll see in a moment here today. Also, we have other people who help us out strategically. For example, ZipDX. You may well be listening to us on ZipDX right now. ZipDX.com. It's a fantastic audio conference bridge. And who knows, maybe you'll be able to use some Jitsi products with it someday soon. Hint, hint. Bluehost is our web server, bluehost.com. Go to vuc.me. You'll be looking at it. Don't go too many of you at one time. You never know. Just kidding. Voxbone, local rate DIDs. You can see these by going to vuc.me/Voxbone. We're in 48 cities. Not too many people can tell you to dial in a local rate DID and talk on your conference. We can do that thanks to Voxbone. Now then, we provide, this is the VUC, an informal place for innovators to gather and exchange ideas. Doesn't say exchange what? Maybe Bitcoin? The activities, we do weekly Friday conference on SIP, PSTN, WebRTC, IPv6, crypto pretty soon with Ule, and a whole bunch of other interesting things. What we like is great guests and great regulars, and we always have that. Last week we had Chris Matthew. This week we have Jitsi and company. And if we, I forgot a slide. There we go. We talk a lot, as you can see by me talking a lot right now. Twitter, VoIP, at VoIP users, vuc.me is the website. We're on Google+. We have a LinkedIn group, and go check out Michael Graves' blog. That would be, I hope this is right. Michael, not if I'm right, mjgraves.org, mgraves.org, mgraves.org. It will take you to his blog. A lot of interesting stuff there, always. Now then, VUC 482, Friday, March 28th, 2014. I'm going to turn the floor over to Emil, and he's going to tell us who he is, how he got interested in tech, how Jitsi started in about a paragraph, and then we'll start talking about what we're presenting today.
Hey,
take it away,
Randy. Oh, very good to be here again on the VUC. My name is Emil. I'm the project founder and current project lead of the Jitsi.org project and community. On this call, we also have a few other very notable developers in the Jitsi.org community. There's Lubomir Marinov, who is doing a lot of the hardcore media stuff. Yana and Boris are also here on one of the screens. Both of them are developers responsible for many important things. Actually, they work so hard that Boris had to break an arm while coding. It's, you know, it's intense development, extreme programming. Yes, again, Randy, thanks for having us here again. It's been a while since Jitsi has been here. I think a little bit more than a year. Maybe I should start reminding exactly what Jitsi is about, or okay.
Yep.
So I have a few slides here, and I wouldn't bore you with slides if they weren't so pretty. It's probably worth mentioning for those of you who don't know that Jitsi started as as a SIP user agent. It was an audio video phone, and probably most of you know about it under this shape. Audio video calls. We've supported Opus Silk G722 for quite a while, so high quality audio conferencing. We have H.264 support, and since recently we also have basic VP8 support in there. And actually, it's an open source user agent, very important. And because of the fact that some of the developers that work on Jitsi also work for a blue gym company whose business model is to provide basically support and development of new features, we have ended up with actually a very rich feature set. To begin with, we do things like audio conferences. That is audio conferences hosted by the client with a very nice user interface. We then extended that and added video conferences as well, again, hosted by the Jitsi client. With good video from everyone. That was actually a very interesting project, and it's what served as a basis for the project that we're using today for this call. But in addition to these things, actually we really have many others. Like for example, we have integration of Outlook, and many of the enterprises that are adopting Jitsi do so because they can compete with products like Link, for example. It integrates with Outlook. You can make calls through Jitsi from Outlook, or look through your Outlook contacts from within Jitsi, etc., etc. We have online provisioning. We have been working on the idea for to specify things like combined usage of SIP and XMPP. This is the CUSAX label that you have here, that basically allow you to get to unified communications with open source projects very easily without and you know, provide viable alternatives to very expensive enterprise products. And we have things like forward error correction for Silk and Opus. We have call recording, IPv6 support. But I think one of the features that Jitsi has been most popular for is the security aspects. Actually, that's interesting, because if you really want to talk about real security, it has to be in an open source project. Otherwise, it's not verifiable, so you don't really know. For various reasons, we've been able to put an accent on development of security features. We've had a lot of contributions, actually. Some of them were contributed by people in our community. ZRDP, for example, came from a person called Werner Dittmann, who actually currently works for Silent Circle. Then OTR support, that was contributed in one of the Google Summer of Code participations, and then we've continued maintaining it. DNSSEC was contributed by Ingo Bauer-Sachs and funded by the Anonet, and etc., etc. So all this is what Jitsi was, is all Jitsi was till about a year ago. Then an interesting thing happened, and WebRTC appeared. Actually, okay, it appeared more than a year ago. But in the summer of 2011, when WebRTC was obviously becoming a hot thing, a hot topic, we were beginning to think, what is this going to be to us? I mean, how exactly are we going to play with WebRTC? Many people think that WebRTC is in competition with soft clients, with soft phones. We didn't think so. We thought there were many things that a rich client can offer in addition to WebRTC. But we were also quite excited about the possibilities that came with WebRTC, because you could, you don't have control over the media stack, but you can develop so many things so fast. And we thought maybe we can do some things together with the people that are excited about WebRTC. So the first thing that came to mind is, why don't we take all those media features that we have and make them available to server-side applications that talk to WebRTC user agents? And the first thing that so that's we could do that through libjitsi, which is the media core of the Jitsi org, of the Jitsi client. And so you could basically now take libjitsi, put it on a server, and make it talk to a browser. In the beginning, that basically meant that it could talk Opus, use SDS, and VP8 to a browser. Then since Bouncy Castle, thanks to our dear friend Tim Patton here, started supporting DTLS, we could also add that support to libjitsi. So today libjitsi is a very viable backend to all to all WebRTC compliant browsers. So that was the first thing. Actually, there was a project at Telecom Italia about a gateway that used libjitsi, and we thought, okay, this seems like a viable thing. We didn't really participate. I mean, outside of the open source part, we didn't really participate, but it was clear enough. We were close enough to know that this is that this can work. That Jitsi is not entirely on a competition level with WebRTC. That there could be things done together. And one of the next steps that we thought would be, good to have a WebRTC. Sorry, I'm going to start that sentence again. So one thing that we thought Jitsi can help WebRTC do was video conferencing, because you see in the video conference here on the right, you have Jitsi clients streaming video to a Jitsi Video Bridge server, and Jitsi Video Bridge is just libjitsi doing what the Jitsi client can do, but on a server. It relays conferences, it relays video streams. But how do you do that with WebRTC? After you go through a few initial WebRTC tutorials, and you notice that the first thing you hear about WebRTC is it's peer-to-peer. It's browser-to-browser. It allows you to send media from one browser to another. Then as soon as you hit the video conferencing program, you start thinking, well, wait, so if it's peer-to-peer, how do I do a multi-party video call? And oops, that's the wrong set of slides. Oh yeah, here it is. How do you do a multi-party video call? And the answer that many people have given to this question is, well, we just make every browser send their video to every other participant, and that would work. And that does work up to a point. And the reason it doesn't always work, it's well, it's not only because I made that slide intentionally ugly, but also because if you have to send a video stream to more than 2 participants, then you're probably going to start lacking upstream bandwidth. Many deployments in Europe use ADSL, and are limited in upstream to, let's say, 700-800 kilobits, maybe a megabit if you're really lucky. And you can barely squeeze 2 video streams through that kind of bandwidth. The third one is becoming problematic. You aren't going anywhere beyond that. Not to mention that when you actually try products that do that kind of stuff, you end up in situations where you have those islands of participation. Some participants can hear a group of other participants, but they cannot. That group cannot hear a third group or something like that. So that's where Jitsi Video Bridge could help WebRTC, and that's what it does. Basically, Jitsi Video Bridge is Jitsi running on a server, and the way it works is that it takes one video stream from every browser, and then it redirects that video stream to every other browser. And yes, that does still imply non-negligible bandwidth consumption, but downstream. And downstream bandwidth is much more readily available today than upstream bandwidth. And again, there are techniques to optimize usage of downstream bandwidth. I think we can get to that later. There are possibilities to use simulcast, scalable video coding, and all of those are coming in the Jitsi Video Bridge. Not all of them are available actually none of them are currently available in WebRTC, but some will be soon. We can talk about that later. The point is that when you're relaying, you can choose what to relay. For example, the Video Bridge can easily detect without decoding anything. It can easily detect who the active speakers are, and then only relay their video to other participants. For everyone else, it can either entirely drop the video or just relay a lower quality stream for those participants. So at the end, you can basically end up in a call with let's say 100 people where you're actually getting the video for only 10, and from those 10 you're actually getting high quality video for only 2 or 3, depending on who's watching who, etc., etc. But the most important thing here is that the video bridge is really a lightweight server. It's called selective forwarding unit in ITS speak, an SFU, and it's that makes it very, very scalable. It makes it more scalable than the full mesh conferences that I mentioned on the previous slide, and it makes it much more scalable than even centralized conferences that are actually mixing all the video. And by mixing, I mean they decode all the incoming streams, they create composite images, and then they relay them to everyone else. So just to make a point here, this is a presentation that we did on, this is a demo that we did on FOSDEM last month. Sorry, a couple months ago. Oh, time is flying by. And we have a conference with 10 participants here, and or something like that. And that conference was running on this Intel NUC here in the middle of the screen. And it was at about 30%. So it's a lightweight product. It's very easy to install. It's entirely open source. And again, that does imply something about security. And we can talk about that later. Open source today has a number of advantages for not only for in terms of ideology, but also in terms of security, in terms of business, et cetera, et cetera. So just to finish with the presentation of how this works, the video bridge is a network component, as I've said, that we currently control through an XMPP API. It's XMPP because it is convenient. We, as I once said, we've been wedded and divorced with 2 signaling protocols in our past, each time thinking this is the protocol that's going to solve all problems in the world, and each time realizing that it's, well, not. But so we're very pragmatic about signaling protocols today. We chose XMPP when working on the bridge simply because it was the easiest option. It simply meant that we would do the least work that way, and we can concentrate on the products that we were actually building. So this Colibri thing is an XMPP extension which lives at ZEP 0340 at the XMPP Standards Foundation, and it basically works that way. Imagine you have your web server that runs a web application that's going to host a conference. So that web server uses the video bridge, and it says, hey, bridge, could you please allocate 10 channels for me here, because I would like to run a conference. And then the bridge responds, sure, mate, there you go. You have 10 channels. Those come in the form of ICE candidates, IP addresses and port numbers, channels. So the web server takes these channels and sends them to the browsers that are going to participate in the conference over whatever signaling protocol. The Jitsi Video Bridge has absolutely no predilection on a signaling protocol. It doesn't care if you're doing Jingo or SIP. You could very well be doing it. We are doing Jingo in this specific conference here on the VUC, but that's not a requirement in any way. So you get in touch with the browsers, you send them the candidates of the bridge. They do a nice negotiation and a DTLS handshake. Again, kudos to Tim Panton for making that happen. And once that is done, media streams start flowing directly between the browsers and the bridge. And so the application that does the bridge control in our case that we are using today is JITmeet. JITmeet, another open source application, stands for Jitsi Meetings. You can download and install that on your servers in really a couple of hours. You can have your own Hangouts running at home. It's very simple to set up, and it doesn't require significant resources. Anyone can spare a VM to do that kind of thing. I guess the most interesting part that we've taken outside of this is how easy it is to to get to where we've done. Just to be clear, this thing has been developed for about 3 months. And before that, we've been working on video conferencing with Jitsi for about a couple of years. And we've accomplished more through WebRTC and the video bridge as a WebRTC mixer, bridge, sorry, SFU, in those 3 months that we have with the Jitsi Rich client. And again, we are going to make that, I mean, it's also helping Jitsi itself, because all the improvements that we've made to libJitsi as part of that project are also going back to Jitsi. And the reason I'm standing on this slide is because the person you're seeing here is Philipp Hanke, who's actually the founder of the JitMeet JavaScript application. He's quite of a WebRTC enthusiast and expert, probably one of the most knowledgeable people I know in that domain. So last year, at some point, he came and said, "Hey, we'd really like to do video conferencing, and it sounds like the video bridge could be the right way to do it with WebRTC. Are you interested in working together so that we can make the video bridge WebRTC compatible?" So we started doing that. He was doing the JitMeet application in JavaScript. We were improving the video bridge, and then we ended up with the first version of JitMeet. That was then open sourced, and now we're all collaborating on that. So that's all for the presentation part. I hope I wasn't too long. Oh, my hair. I lost that. Anyways. That's pretty much it. I think we can go to the rest of the. Yeah.
Emil, did you mention the? I know here in France, I've been working with a customer who asked us to comply with a certain directive. It's the CNIL. I don't even remember what they stand for, but they're about data protection, and they're the people who require, for example, that every website coming out of France states who the publisher is, who the people responsible are, and that way they determine whether you like that or not. I mean, that's what they do, and they have a whole bunch of rules. And one of the things that they legislate on is, and that they're very concerned about, not just the web, by the way, it's anything to do with computing. And Emil, if you know more about the CNIL, by all means, give us a better definition. But what I was going to say that's important is they are very concerned about data that crosses borders. This started way 5 years before the NSA stuff came up. So it is not a reaction to that, but it is, you would say if we were doing a commercial, now more than ever. The point is that these things are going to become a concern. They're very important in Europe. After all, the United States is 50 states that aren't that disparate. They're not that spread out, and they have agreements. You know, it's a federation or it's a whatever it is anyway. But here we have all these states who are different languages, and there's they have a need to separate the data. So when we're talking encryption, one of the things that you and I spoke of is if you have your server, let's stay in France, but I think that the situation is probably the same in most European countries and maybe other countries. So we've got our server in France, let's say, and I have a company or several branches, the typical, just like a VoIP setup, but we're talking video conferencing. Now you're using encryption and you are not crossing a border. So first of all, you'd be compliant with things that are coming up. Anyway, could you take that ball and run with it and explain a little bit more about it? I think it's an important fact.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Actually, it's because indeed, when people see that, many times they wonder, why is that better than Hangouts? I mean, Hangouts are free. Why is this thing better? So, taking the technical aspects aside, we're not going to do a comparison there. I don't think that's the more meaningful thing. But this is something that you actually run yourself. You install it wherever you want. You give it the capacity that you want. You give it the configuration that works best for you. And most importantly, you put it wherever you need it to be. So if you want to have conferences in France or in Germany or in Britain or wherever, and you want all the data to stay within that country, then this is how you do it. Currently, I'm going to go out on a limb here and claim that the Jitsi video bridge is the easiest way to make that happen. You get it set up in a couple of hours. You get participants on board with WebRTC in 3 minutes, and you have the security and you have the customization, the customability, or whatever, that you need. You cannot get that with Hangouts, or any of the other cloud services. I think that's one of the reasons actually that I think open source is much more than just an ideology or a religion or whatever you want to call it. The advantage of open source is that it gives you that kind of flexibility. It's not only about free, as in not paying for it. It's about free, as in I'm doing with it whatever I want to do with it.
You know, this is a good point to make here about contributions, because whenever we say open source, maybe Tim might be, working with someone else, and he's installed, because he knows what he's doing. He's installed his instantiation, for lack of a better word, of the Jitsi server, and they're doing all these things. And then he says, well, wait a minute, we need to connect this to the radiology machine in upstairs, or some wacky application that hasn't been done or thought of even by anybody. Once he's got all that code written, he can choose to recontribute it, at least in the open source model. Now, my question to you is anybody doing that, and do you expect to see that in the future?
Many people are actually doing that already with Jitsi. Now, Jitsi Video Bridge is a much much newer product, but think about what I just said in the presentation. JITME wasn't born within the community of Jitsi.org. It's currently part of that community, but it was Philipp Hanke who wrote the first lines and who actually created the project. And that was because Jitsi Video Bridge was available, and because he needed a video conferencing backend. The very reason this system exists, the one that we are using, is because of open source. It wouldn't have happened without it.
Exactly. Somebody's got a phone ringing. I guess either the other caller gave up, or somebody answered.
I mean, it was actually, there's actually police outside. I might have to leave you in a minute. But, yeah.
Oh no!
They went. Whew. Right.
The other thing is, did you? And of course, I'm posting some photos on Google Plus of this setup here, because I've got 4 screens in front of me, and I'm operating like 16 different things. And I'm not the only one. We got Michael Graves here, who's doing some fantastic audio bridging to ZipDX. The audio on ZipDX just sounds great. And so I wanted to, and I'm writing captions, so I'm kind of losing what I was trying to get you to say here.
Well, then maybe to leave you some time to concentrate. I wanted to I actually forgot what I wanted to say.
We all forgot. We need a script here. We'll open up for questions, but I did have something real simple, topic. It'll come back because I'm writing captions on these photos. Oh yeah, I know what it was. It was about installation help and support, because that's an important question. Did you cover that though? Because I mentioned that I'm doing the captions and stuff because I can't listen to every word. Did you get into that model?
No, I didn't actually. Yes. I did mention that many of the Jitsi developers currently work for a company called BlueJimp, which provides exactly that. We are a development agency that actually employs developers working on Jitsi, and we are there to customize it and make it work the way you want it to work. As someone was saying, that's actually a pretty typical model with open source. You find a project and it does 90% of what you want it to do, but you actually need those 10% that are specific to your use case, and that's what we do. And that also includes installing it and then customizing it, optimizing it, and then modifying it for your needs.
Okay, and in the meantime, I did something while I was uploading the photos, and it got screwed up. But it's in a different window, so I'm okay. Any questions of anybody or comments? Did I say the audio was great on ZipDX, by the way, yet? I know I did a few minutes ago. Fantastic. Scalability of the video, Michael, and HD. Oh, good. Yeah, because you and I were talking about this last night. So one of the reasons is my screen capture isn't the greatest on the YouTube version is because obviously I'm just capturing a screen, that goes without saying, but also because I think we're in like 360p or something like that.
Yeah.
What's the flex? So Michael's asking, what's the flexibility in, and he's saying limits. Well, the flexibility in resolution, first of all, and a reasonable bandwidth use and so on, and also scalability. Well, I guess that's what he meant by scalability.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's also video scalability.
In fact, I think he meant the scalability that you and I were talking about last night, which is how many streams might you be able to send. That's exciting too. So two separate questions.
I know that Michael is otherwise a big fan of SVC codecs, and he totally believes in them. But yeah, so the whole point of the Jitsi Video Bridge project is scalability. It doesn't do anything heavy with the streams. It just relays them in all directions. Actually, the heaviest thing that it does is decrypting and encrypting them. So what does that mean exactly? Currently, let me basically give you an example. Currently, there's we're running that on a virtual machine. Now, there's actually some other conferences happening in the same time, but when there was just us, the 10 of us, we were at about 50% of one core of a virtual machine with a couple of cores and 4 GB of RAM. And there was 10 of us. That means that each of us was encoding one audio stream, one video stream, and was decoding 10 incoming video streams and audio streams. The video bridge was just taking all those streams, so 10 streams incoming and had 90 streams in the other direction, and was encrypting and decrypting them. So yes, encryption and decryption is the heaviest part of this process, but it's also not really that heavy if you have to compare it to actually video mixing and something like that. Michael asked about the resolution. So we currently set it to 360p because there's this bug in WebRTC currently. It does not allow you to stream more than one video stream from a single source in the same time. So I cannot tell my webcam, I cannot tell my browser, I need to get one 1080p video stream and then a second one, which is probably going to be VGA or even QC for SIF. I cannot do that, which prevents me from doing one of the most common optimizations in multi-party video streaming that is that is practiced today by by people like Polycom and Video and all those players. This bug, however, is recognized by, at least on the Chrome bug tracker, and it's been fixed within the month of May, if I have their schedule right. Which means that we can start doing much more interesting things. Like, for example, let's say that Michael starts streaming 1080p, and he also starts sending a second stream, which is just his thumbnail video with maybe just a couple of frames per second or something like that. The video bridge can pick those up and analyze Michael's audio activity and decide, am I going to forward Michael's video to everyone? Am I going to choose his high quality video stream to forward to everyone? Or am I going to just take the thumbnail? Obviously, that decision is being made on the audio activity. If Michael is not currently speaking, then chances are no one is seeing him. And it doesn't even have to be a matter of chance. The bridge can actually know whether or not someone is currently watching Michael. And if no one is, then the bridge can just forward the low quality stream and then drop the high quality images. And this is a very lightweight process. It's almost like routing. It's video routing, and you don't it doesn't require further resources, and it allows for much better scalability. So what we'd like to do, for example, is be able to have 100 participants in a call, and you see the last 10 speakers, and maybe from those you're just getting high quality video for 2 or 3 for the last 2 or 3 to have spoken. This is what people call simulcast. It's a very interesting topic. I personally like it very much. It's one of those topics that it's kind of been out there for a while, and it's been used by many commercial players. but in a somewhat closed way. So it's I'd say that it's underexplored and it's underexploited. The other way of doing the same thing is scalable video coding. And I know that you have a session on the future of video coding with Bernard Boba from Microsoft and Alex from Video. So they're going to explain that in much greater detail. It's a passionate. I mean, it's a really interesting topic for me. But the idea is that rather than setting two entirely different streams, you just send a low quality video stream, and then the higher quality is not a separate video, but it's just complementary information that adds to the low quality video stream and turns it into a HD video stream, for example. And there can be several steps in that process. So you can, it can have a first layer that makes it 360p, or second that makes it 720, and then you can actually do that kind of layering also in terms of frame rate. So we can have a lower layer with, let's say, 7.5 frames per second, and then an upper layer that completes it, that adds the missing frames, and turns that into a 50 frames per second, and then you can, 15, and then you go to 30 with the third layer, etc., etc. So this kind of scalable video coding, that's called temporal scaling, and the other one was spatial. Or quality, that's currently partly supported by VP8. Not by, at least the Google implementation by VP8, not by WebRTC though. There's no API to control that right now. Maybe there will be with the ORTC API that comes along. We'll see. And last year there was an announcement from Video that they were going to contribute their SVC technology to VP9. So there might be an easy way for even open source projects to use that in the near future. Was there a question? Sorry.
Anyone? Also on ZipDX, you can unmute yourself with *6 and ask questions if you have a question or a comment.
I think Tim is speaking, but he's muted.
Tim, you may be muted, and he may have. I was going to call on him to when you mentioned WebRTC as well, because he may have some light on that. He's no, still not.
So muted, Tim.
There's maybe you muted yourself from the application itself. There's a microphone in the toolbar.
Upstairs in the toolbar. You can. We don't have mute controls, so it couldn't be us.
Yeah, or you could just reload your page. If you're not sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I love the sound, by the way.
Yeah, it's the same as in Jitsi.
So,
nice.
So while he's doing that, let me pose you a simple little question. Do you have any perspective on the idea of custom layouts so that we might be able to determine thumbnail size and position for optimal for a known size of audience?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. There's this interesting thing. In Jitsi, our user interface is built using Java Swing. The religious anti-Java aspects aside, while Java Swing has the advantage of being really cross-platform, so once you write it, the user interface kind of runs everywhere, etc., etc. But other than that, it's really a very fastidious API. It takes a lot of time to develop user interface that looks good with Java Swing. It's a tremendous effort, and that's been probably one of the main bottlenecks for Jitsi for the last 5 or 6 years. Having to deal with Swing every time we need to do a change, be it on layouts or whatever. Back when I was doing the presentation, or if you go to jitsi.org in the screenshot section, you'll see this example of a Jitsi video conference where everyone is shown in the same size, and you basically have 5 equal size windows. So that's obviously a different layout than the one we're currently using. And so from the start, when we started doing Video Bridge, we thought having access to all the individual streams is great for exactly that reason. Everyone can choose their own layout. So not only can they choose the person they're currently watching, but they can choose to see 3, 4, 5, everyone at the same time, depending on what's important to them. And it doesn't even have to be a central thing. You know, some of the mixers, some of the video mixers out there can do that as well. But obviously that's much heavier. And normally when you do it for everyone. It's rare that you wouldn't be allowed to do different layouts for different people. Here, it's up to you. So, and when you, and the reason I started talking about swing is that when we got into HTML, I mean, man, that kind of stuff, implementing a different layout in HTML, that's probably a matter of a day. It's, we are currently using a different, a new version of the Jitsi user interface. We had a different one a few days ago, and it was so, well, I wouldn't say it's entirely easy, but I mean, compared to the kind of effort that it used to take with Swing to get here, it's just phenomenal. So the short answer to your question is yes, we think that having the possibility to set different layouts and allow users to set those layouts is a very, very interesting aspect that you get from the fact that you have access to all the individual streams.
So with any luck, my audio is now working.
No, I'm sorry. No, we don't.
We can't hear you, Tim.
Okay, good. That's comforting. So I can badmouth you all now, and nobody will know.
Start.
So, right. So first thing I should say is thanks for the credit for the bouncy castle DTLS stuff, but really the people who deserve the praise for that is Tropo, who actually paid for it, and the bouncy castle guys who did the real work. It was just my idea, and I encouraged a few people to kind of get together and get things done. I think that the idea of having open source encryption is, and in fact, an open source secure messaging thing is incredibly important. And I think that, you know, the fact that this is out there and that you can physically locate it somewhere is great. That's fantastic. My only kind of hesitation is I'm starting to see, and kind of this is because it's open source, it doesn't really matter this, but I'm starting to see more and more applications of conferencing rather than conferencing being a goal in itself. So, you know, you'll see a video interview for recruitment where half the page is made up of the guy's CV. Or one I saw that was absolutely brilliant was the candidate got to work through a problem in an on-screen editor on half the page, and then the people who were interviewing him would take up the rest of the page. So that flexibility of layout and the idea of devoting a tool to a specific task rather than making a generic conferencing engine, I think is really important. So, you know, I've got no enthusiasm for reproducing, you know, Polycom features. I think it's much more interesting to be able to narrow cast down to a very restricted feature set around solving a particular goal, and then just browse to the website that does the thing you want to do. But behind it all is all kind of the fun of, you know, you need the heavy lifting behind it to make it work. So I think that's cool. So yeah, was there a question in there? I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe I just wanted to add to this that just to make sure there's no confusion for anyone watching this, it's important to distinguish between the JavaScript application that we're currently using, that's JitMeet, which is a dedicated conferencing collaborative application, and Jitsi Video Bridge, which is behind it all and running and just basically just relaying video streams from one participant to everyone else and vice versa. So, and the reason I'm saying it is because something like the Jitsi Video Bridge allows you to take video conferencing and build it into exactly that kind of specific applications that you were mentioning. I guess that's the point that you were also making, but I just wanted to clarify. But so yeah, with that, you don't have to worry about doing all those heavy lifting, potentially somewhat complicated things, as in handling layers and encryption, decryption, determining dominant speakers and that kind of stuff. So that's what we hope to provide with Jitsi Video Bridge. You know that Jitsi Video Bridge is an open source server, not a service. There are already some services for WebRTC out there that allow you to kind of get the same thing, but they're run by someone else on their premises, which might be a problem because of. Is that because I'm talking too much? Or
I think it's his customer.
But it's yeah, the whole point was that this is an open source project that the server that you can take and integrate into your specific applications and either make it happen in a CV, job posting, job auditioning thing, as Tim was mentioning, or you can play chess. No, okay, chess would be for two persons. It wouldn't really matter, but you know, just do multi-party things with it. So yeah, I just wanted to stress on that.
Any other questions? We may be trying a test soon to see just how many people we can have in here. Emil, what's the best way for people to contact you before we blow everything up? Get all the URLs and all any email or whatever you want to give. Sure, especially though there must be some main like jitsi.org.
Jitsi.org is our home. Emil at jitsi.org is myself. And from jitsi.org, you can get to anywhere. We're currently running this conference at meet.jit.si. The application that we're currently using, the JavaScript one, is jitme.org, and Jitsi Video Bridge, jitsi.org/video bridge is the Jitsi Video Bridge. But you don't have to remember them all. Just take jitsi.org. Maybe one more thing that I wanted to add about WebRTC is maybe just a couple of words before we try and blow everything up about our future plans, about things that we'd like to build in the future. So video recording is probably very high on our list. This is something we'd really like to do. We've been involved with SIP and XMPP for a while now. So one of the obvious next steps that we have is having a SIP gateway so that you can call out to regular SIP numbers or PSTN numbers and join them to conferences like this one. And then comes all the advanced stuff, determining a dominant speaker and being able to switch to that person automatically. This is something interesting. Now, we're currently looking into that. The interesting thing that's specific to WebRTC is that we need to come up with a new mechanism for doing it. Actually, mechanisms for doing that kind of stuff have existed, and some of them are even partially implemented in WebRTC today. For example, Chrome is currently attaching audio levels to all the audio streams that are going out of our browsers. So, I mean, each and every one of you here are getting audio streams that are tagged with audio levels. Every packet says, this is how loudly this person is speaking. So you can basically determine if they're currently muted or if they're actually talking. But you don't have access to them because of the WebRTC API. And this, in the beginning, is something that you would say, oh, darn, I have to wait for them to extend the API in order to do it. But that's actually also where one of the strengths of WebRTC comes in. There's this. There's this. For those of you who don't know WebRTC, there's the data channels thing, which is basically arbitrary data that you send within the RDP stream, which means that all those things that exist as fancy RTP extensions or some other protocols like Google's pseudo TCP that was being used for file transfer directly between peers, all those things, you can actually do them using those data channels. They're going to travel through the same path as your media. That means that if you want to attach audio levels, if you want to make audio levels available in some way, or just signals for changing domino speakers, you can do those in data channels. And the reason I find that cool is not because we have to reinvent the wheel for the existing mechanisms. Obviously, that would have been better otherwise. But that means that every time you need a new thing, you won't need to come up with a specific RTP extension. You can just do it for using data channels for your bridge or service or site or whatever you're doing. So data channels are going to help us handle simulcasting. For example, let's say that I'm currently talking, but everyone here wants to be watching James Bodie, obviously, because he has a tie. Now, the bridge has to know that everyone is looking at James Bodie, and it has to send the high-quality version of. Obviously, there's no low-quality version of James Bodie, but the high-resolution one. And the easiest way to do this is through data channels. Every time someone clicks on James, their browser is going to send a data message and say, "I'm watching this stream," and then the bridge is going to be able to make a proper decision as to what kind of resolution it's forwarding for James Bodie. And that's also what's going to allow us to, only show the 10 last participants of a 100-person conference and all these things. So yeah, I've been talking too much. Again, if there are questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So I can apologize for the fact that my phone went off and I had the wrong microphone muted. So there you go. But I mean, I think that's great, and the fact that you're picking up on the programmability of the browser and the ability to do intelligent stuff in the endpoint is great, because that's it feels to me like that's one of the big things that's different about WebRTC, is that you've got, instead of having an endpoint that had a fixed set of features that you couldn't really change without reflashing a prom, you can change those features just by changing a little bit of JavaScript. So I think that's that's a huge step forward. And the data channel, yeah, well, we both want the data channel to do great things. So
yeah.
And no, I haven't started on that yet.
I was waiting for you to say that. There's actually currently an implementation, USRS SCTP or something like that. That seems to be pretty decent. I think that's what WebRTC.org is using. So for quick access to SCTP features, that's probably using that is probably a good way to start on the server. But yeah, then for Java projects, obviously having a native Java one is much better.
With any luck, I will find the time to start doing it. I've just about finished the thing I was doing, so hopefully that was a paid project, so I couldn't really turn it down. So and now, hopefully I can get to that.
Great, that's great news, and we have it on the recording.
Can we just do a quick detour? I'm going to put Michael on a screen, and I'd like him to explain what he's doing on his end, because he's doing quite a bit of virtual video and audio gymnastics. I assume you can speak if you unmute. There you go.
I can speak, and for the first time, I will actually put myself into the recording. I'm only doing two things really. Behind me there is a computer running a SIP client and the browser, and so that's doing an audio interconnect with ZipDX, and that's working breathtakingly well. In fact, and I will note that this entire experience of using WebRTC inside of Chrome is tempted to say better than the Hangout experience of using the plugin. Certainly the audio that we're getting to ZipDX is dramatically better and more consistent than we get out of the Hangout plugin. So that's first order of business, is tying to the audio only crowd. Second order of business is the laptop that I'm running this on. I'm actually capturing its output to a hardware capture card, so we'll have a 720p recording of this. Yeah, which took a little while, a little head scratching to figure out how to get that done and also be able to hear what's going on. But that's all there is to it.
You want to say what the hardware is? You got a new capture card, right?
Okay, and this, yeah, sure. Well, this is my little Lenovo laptop, which I quite like. It has a display port out, and I have the adapter cable that takes that into an AV or media card that's capable of grabbing it. And DisplayPort's nice because it passes the audio as well, but that's a unidirectional connection, which means there are lots of things that can take video and audio from here to there, but not also give you the mix minus that you need to do the kind of telephony, interviewing, conferencing stuff. So we're constantly hacking around that, and a bridge like what you're working on just has so many tools that actually go beyond all this video conferencing stuff and could be deployed in a brand new form of broadcasting, as people are taking video from the cable and the airwaves to IP networks and doing, with Hangouts what people have done with small cable channels for decades. So that's all very cool and an opportunity for you guys that nobody else is looking at.
Yep.
Back to Emil. He's more interesting than me.
I want to throw one thing in there, which is an experiment that Chris Matthew and I did on Twellophone, and which is that because this is in a web browser, again, you can layer in, and some of you may have seen this demo, but you can layer in WebGL effects as part of the rendering of the video, which means that it's actually really simple. It's 5 or 10 lines of JavaScript to put selected people into black and white, or reverse video, or high contrast, or those sorts of things. And those are quite simple WebGL transforms that you can apply to a canvas on the rendering side. And that's just like, those sorts of WebGL effects that you only really saw on broadcast TV up until a few years ago are things that you can do in your web browser now. And I think that's quite why that's relevant to Jitsi, I'm not sure, but I feel like
oh yes, it is.
It's whole business about thinking that James is looking far too healthy, and we need to make him look much more like a zombie, and we can change his color palette on the fly. Or I'm looking far too red. I'd much rather look less pink because I've been sitting in the sun here. The sun in Britain. I mean, hey, those sorts of things, and the idea of being able to get rid of the messy backdrop and put a beach behind you or whatever. All of those things are things you could relatively easily do in JavaScript.
Actually, when it's not only about the fancy things. I mean, we have fade in, fade out effects here, and when you're switching from one person to another, which gives you some comfort or not. I mean, it's up to you to decide. But making these things work, making these things easily programmable is actually. I actually have a funny story about this. In Jitsi, when we were doing one-to-one conferencing on some operating system like OS X, for example, we had to explicitly make sure that the local video always shows, the thumbnail of the local video always shows on top of the remote video. And then we also wanted to make it easily closable, the local video. So we wanted to add a small X button in the top right corner of the local video. So these three things, showing the remote video, then the local video on top of it, then the X button on top of that, that probably, 1 second please. So that project probably took us easily 2 months to get right on our operating systems. Just these layouting Z-order topic, and doing so in the same time. I'm also doing some teaching and in the University of Strasbourg, and I was doing I was going through WebRTC, some WebRTC examples. That was 2.5 years ago. And there was this AppRTC example where you start watching yourself, and then as soon as the second person joins into the call, and you go through this 180-degree animation that they had just implemented that. And I saw this, and I saw it was written in 2 lines of JavaScript code, and I'm thinking, Oh my God. And we had to spend 2 months adding a small X button on top of our local video. So that's made a huge difference for us working on JITmeet. And we're actually currently working on a project to replace Java Swing and Jitsi with a Chromium embedded framework. And so we're going to actually bring HTML5 and JavaScript in the Jitsi rich client as well. Because things are moving so much faster with HTML and JavaScript that it's not about competition. It's not about being ahead of the game or something like that. It's really about how easy it is for you to provide features that users need and that have so far been very much complicated, very complicated, and suddenly they become so easy to do, which automatically means so inexpensive to do, which automatically means that there are so many more problems and use cases that can now be solved thanks to these things. So I took a while to make my point, but I made it. So,
well, what was the point? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Anybody else? We've been going an hour, which is great. We can continue without the recording and the YouTube thing and all that, or I can close out the Hangout, which is strictly there to record anyway and just to show people live what it's like. Other questions from anybody or comments? So, you ready for the breakout, the dangerous demo test? You think you can handle it? It doesn't matter if it goes, it goes.
Sure, yeah. And then
James says, bring it on.
Someone said that we should actually show the Etherpad. There's an Etherpad here. Don't we want to write something? That can be part of the breaking game.
Oh, you're talking about the little document thing up here?
Yeah, if it's of interest.
If I bring it up, what happens? Does it? No,
actually, Michael has to bring it up on the recording.
Right, but if I start
I can bring it up just now.
But that's probably good.
The shared document is
yeah. So that's probably a good example of how easy it is. Integrating the Etherpad there was a matter of a day. Integrating Prezi was a matter of a day. It's and all those things in a rich client are a matter of months, probably more than a year in some cases. So,
in the case of Prezi, now I've used Prezi in the past in passing, and it's heavily Flash based. At least what I used of it was. So what's the nature of the integration? Are you just taking like an HTML5 output or a Flash output, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, we don't do anything with it. We just show an iframe. It's just, and in that iframe, they run Flash. They have a JavaScript API. And the reason we wanted it is because people often need presentations in meetings, and we wanted to show how easy it is to take GT Video Bridge and add stuff to it and make it usable in collaboration meetings, for example. So Prezi was, we don't want to handle storage of presentations. We don't want to handle conversion of PDFs to images because you immediately expose your servers to various kinds of attacks when you do that. And we're developers. We're currently developing. Jitsi, the thing that we're using here is the first service that we are actually running seriously in addition to the Jitsi XMPP service that we have. So it's not something that we have an enormous amount of resources to maintain. So plugging in these components like Etherpad and Prezi has been just about adding an iframe, just like embedding a different web page. This one happens to contain Flash. So probably that's not the best, but just add another one. It's going to take another day. That's pretty much the point that I'm trying to make.
Thomas is asking if it's possible to show PDF documents on a Jitsi bridge.
That's one of the things that happens outside the Jitsi bridge. Actually, it's just as the Prezi, it's something that your browser does, and so in if there's this PDF.js from Mozilla that can probably be used. There's Tim from his mobile, I bet. So
there's some serious noise coming in too.
Yeah.
Mr. Roboto.
But if you want to show a PDF, then that can be done within another with the integration of that PDF.js. Actually, the OpenFire.
Thank you for the merciful.
The OpenFire community have taken Jitsi Video Bridge and have embedded it in as a plugin in OpenFire, and they have added actually a different JavaScript application that started that was based on JitMeet in the beginning. They call that AuthMate now as OpenFire Meet, and they I believe they support document sharing, streaming, sharing through PDF.js from Mozilla. So, and they did that entirely on the HTML side. The Jitsi Video Bridge is, as Philip Hanke likes saying, it's dumb. It does one thing, it relays audio and video. And it's not this huge, complicated thing. It just feeds video streams to it and gives you back video streams. That's all that it does. And it has a simple API. But so the rest of the integration is really just courtesy of HTML5 and WebRTC.
Speaking of PDF, this got mentioned briefly in passing, but I wanted to underline this. When you bring in the Prezi slides on the bridge, now you can't see this on our recording, at least the one I'm making now on YouTube, because YouTube's fuzzy because it's a screen capture. But those of us in the room, when you bring up the Prezi slides, they are crystal clear. And that's a huge problem in video conferencing. I assume that now all commercial offers probably have a way to show slides that way. But if you're doing it on a Hangout, for example, it's incredibly poor. As we've shown in about 50 of our last Hangouts, when people go to the slides, no matter who they're coming from and no matter what the bandwidth is, it's never fantastic. Yes, Bob, we're going to start the crazy time in a second here. Where is he? Oh, that's it. He put it in the, James put it in the room. So here it is. Everybody's here. Okay.
Maybe
for it.
The other developers of Jitsi have something to say here. Now would be the time.
I think we have to
tell stories of
I think between the broken arm and the fact that we do have a woman with us. It would be nice
the broken arm and the fact that they're all silent is probably pretty revealing of my nature.
They're very quiet. There's Bob.
Hey, Bob.
I'm muted, but yeah.
All right.
Bob, you have the floor. Say hello.
Hello.
So we're currently 11.
Hello, Bob. Oh, I've got the.
It's just us in right now, so they're only going to show 10. Oh, cool. The bottom. Oh, it's just in the middle. It's just us in.
So I can tell you that my Google Nexus can't cope with this.
Jer is in the building.
It starts to work and then it fails.
Yeah, so actually the fact that it fails is probably because it cannot decode all the incoming video streams. It actually handles pretty well up to 4, 5 streams, 6, 7, but I suppose 11's too much. And that's one thing where we need some more advanced control using SCTP and data channels in order to properly handle.
I was really surprised at how well it handled the Nexus. The Nexus 7 handled it with like 5 or 6 people on the call. It handled it quite well.
It did, yeah, it did.
How's the? I mean, I guess we're all using Chrome, but how does Firefox compare these days?
Oh, that's a sensitive topic. So Firefox does not currently support that kind of architecture that we currently have. It is not possible for Firefox to receive multiple video streams within the same peer connection. Now, it's on their roadmap. They have to implement this unified plan. That's basically a way of signaling multiple streams, not only for multiple participants, but also because you have layers and that kind of stuff. The reason I said it's a sensitive topic is because the way that signaling should have happened was battled out on the ITF last year. We had our own view of a solution, and we Google had their own, and then there was also Mozilla and Cisco together with the third one. Finally, that was the one that got selected. 12 participants, good. Finally, that was the one that got selected, and the problem is that it's very complicated. That's always been the problem with that solution. So and I think that comes down to one of the core issues with using SDP with WebRTC. SDP is a solution that's very specific to one use case. It's telephony. I call you, you answer. I might send you one or maybe more streams, and that already becomes a little bit tricky, but we're okay. I have a call, pickup, hang up. With WebRTC, you have streams flying in all directions, and then it's trying and breaking that through offer answer and SDP. Through an offer answer SDP prism is it's extremely complicated, and but I think that's what Firefox are currently suffering, and basically they need to handle that complexity. Obviously there are some very smart people working there, but that doesn't change the fact that it's still a very complicated problem. I think that the Firefox problem is probably going to get resolved either when they actually end up implementing that support for unified plan, and we have to obviously start supporting that in the bridge as well, or if we start supporting the possibility to do multiple peer connections per participant on the bridge, but that's very complicated because you have to start treating those separately. And what comes out of one of those connections shouldn't be forwarded back to the other of those connections because they're not real participants. It's just messy. Or there's this new API currently that's being developed as a community effort on the W3C. So it's not an official W3C thing, but Google and Microsoft and even I believe even Apple and certainly Mozilla are actually contributing on it. And then everyone is kind of expecting, again, there's nothing official about it, but everyone is kind of expecting that this will become WebRTC 2.0. And that's going to make stream management much more sensible, much more API friendly. And I expect that this is when this is probably the lowest resistance path for both the Mozilla community and our community to get to support to multi-stream applications there. For the one person that's not asleep, thank you for staying awake with me through that monologue. Appreciate that.
So see if we can get Daniel in.
We fire up Etherpad.
We just did a few minutes ago. Where were you? It's not that exciting to do
I didn't
twice.
see it fire up.
Yeah.
So for the VoIP people amongst you, what's surprising about this is, and what the basis of that kind of issue that Emil was discussing is that this isn't opening, 22 different UDP sockets to do, each one to do video and RTCP, or even 44, because you could have video, audio, RTCP for audio, RTCP for video. So in theory, you could be opening 44 UDP connections for this call. And what Chrome tries to do is stuff it all down one and multiplex over that one connection, which works very well, but SDP has no idea how to describe it accurately.
Right. Well, the SDP defenders would tell you, yes, it does. And that idea is called unified plan, and it's being currently developed. But I suppose that if you really put your hat to it, you could find a complicated solution to any simple problem. It's just that it's probably not the most optimal way of spending resources.
Uh-oh. How did that? What happened?
Hello, Yana.
Hello, yeah, Yana joined through her computer because we're breaking it, right? So what's
we're trying? Oh yeah, now? We're not at 15. We need 15. We need 16 to break the record.
We need more. All right.
Yeah, we need more. No, but not the mobile, please. Mobiles are not. If I put it on Google Plus, it goes out to a lot of people. I'm afraid to do that though.
Well, that's when we're really desperate to break it.
Yeah. No, Hangouts can do 15, and we have done one with 15 just for the whole purpose of having 15. Bob, you got another computer there. Go ahead.
We now have stereo bobs. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're still short one to break the record. We need about 5 more people. I want to see 20 people in here. I want to see 50 people in here.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me see if I can get a Neil Dash. That'd be funny.
There's 16. That's Daniel.
The strip along the bottom. Hey, Daniel, the thumbnail's getting small.
Daniel, you just broke the record, but you didn't break the bridge.
How are things going, Daniel? Are you crazy yet?
He's maybe not hearing us.
Yes. Oh, no, he's not.
No, he's muted.
He's muted.
Okay. Person number 17 is having...
What's the password?
VUC. Wait, where's it? Damn.
Is this running on Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, not exactly. And here's an anonymous participant.
Version 2. Someone wearing a D-Link shirt.
We're starting to get a few people in here. I know who that is, I think. If you move your camera up, I'll be sure.
Sorry about the free shirt.
Your camera is catching you from the nose down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
using
9, 10, 11,
BCC.
12. Hey, Thomas. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Is that right? Could it be?
Yeah.
Thomas from Austria.
Thomas on a train.
Is that John? No, it's not John. It's I know who that is, but I
don't come into this call if you're on a paid satellite connection.
Big problem. Yeah.
I still recognize Jamie, but we're still not seeing all of you.
Well, there's one person who doesn't have video, so there's nothing we can do about that.
So people know as you join the call, it takes the 4. It's kind of like voice activity detection, but not exactly. So there's in the recording. There's sometimes when I'm picking what people see in the recording, and sometimes somebody joins and it's the shot away.
Yeah, if someone joins, they become the new active. Then currently selected currently. Because that's natural, right? When someone comes into the room in the middle of a meeting, they have to feel awkward, and everyone has to stare at them.
That's really it comes to that same.
There's a bunch of echo there.
Yeah, see, we really need the mute possibility, guys.
Yeah,
you can start to see that.
Here's another thing. When the icons get first of all, the icon strip should wrap to a second row at a certain rational point, I would think. But when they get to a certain size, there's no point in animating them, right? Just take a static frame.
Of course, but 90, just to be clear, this isn't a use case that we've optimized for.
No.
It's and I don't think we would. I mean, it's beyond 10. There's no point showing anyone.
No.
Beyond the last 10 active speakers, but I guess that's actually something that's come up. When you have 100 people in the conference, you could use a shot of their video stream as an avatar. So in a contact list. So yes, you're right. That's exactly what you were. Suggesting.
Things are actually starting to degrade just a little bit now. In fact, more than a little, depending on the moment. At least on my end here.
Yeah, the audio is starting to break up. Although I think part of that's the echo cancelling.
Oh, interesting. Well, if we can't break it, we have to continue until we do. Let's see, we get over 20. It's hard to count it when there's this size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
If you move the mouse, it shows
10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
How many are at the top?
Oh, it does?
Yep.
I'm not. Where do you see that? I'm not seeing it.
So
I am cycling through everybody who's presenting video, so
the drop
into the
down.
recording.
Yeah.
How you say like the
quotation bubble?
Oh,
and that says 18.
Sorry.
There's 16 live viewers on YouTube at the moment too. So
Can
in
I
a way,
select?
so we've got those
37.
yeah, in a way. Plus on ZipDX, I'm not looking at ZipDX console. Michael, how many people are on that? Can you see?
14.
14. Yeah, no, everybody wants video now.
Emil, can I
So
select
weird.
the active or the stream to be displayed on like the big view?
No, you have to pick that up manually.
How I pick that manually?
You just click on the thumbnail.
Doesn't work here on some Chrome version on macOS. I tried, but
I will say there's a lot more latency in that now that we have a larger number of people in the bridge. It's taking, in some cases, a couple of seconds to catch up.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm trying to. I clicked on Daniel about 7 seconds ago, and he just came up. Yeah, locally here. I click on here. I'll click on ZipDX 5, 4. Well, you can't see what I'm seeing, I guess. You would if you were watching YouTube. ZipDX. Hey, can we try the presentation again? Let me just look at a slide or two to see how that goes out. I'm curious. Oops, I don't have it.
Now, I just lost an icon for Randy.
Oh yeah, I think he restarted. He reloaded the page. Here he is. And here's the Prezi.
I'm going to bring this up and we'll see what happens, right, Bob?
This is not supposed to work. We're not supposed to be able to speak that many. It's yeah.
How does this look to everybody? Is this clear or not? I can't tell from here, obviously.
That's beautiful.
It's very clear.
Emil,
Yes.
one question about the chat. It seems that I got a strange ID as my nickname on the chat.
You can change it by clicking on near yourself and using the pencil, Daniel. That was Daniel, right?
Oh, I see. That's interesting. No, actually, you sent me Conda properly, but it's showing your XMPP resource.
Ah.
That's a very interesting one. Let me screenshot that one. And I should probably take the logs.
So the Prezi hasn't loaded for me. Is there something I should do?
What do you mean it hasn't loaded? No, yeah, well, you should find it somewhere.
Well, I have it on my screen. It says the VUC by Randy Resnick. And
Oh yeah, there should be a reload
about
button.
using this Jitsi thing as conferencing.
Yeah, the Prezi loaded on one of my clients, but not the other.
But I guess all these people are connected in the conference right now.
Oh, yes.
Free conferencing.
Yes.
So does it require real flash, or will it work with the Chrome flash? Prezi?
No, everybody's. I guess I'm just clicking on each person. They're all connected to the conference.
That's what I'm saying. So you can look at, okay, that's the same as WebEx. There's a picture of all the participants. But usually,
I believe we are achieving.
Yeah, but then we came back right away. See how fast that is?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Emil, we broke it.
It broke on my Chrome. My Chrome said, "Oh snap! Something went wrong while displaying this web page. To continue reload or go to another page." And since I was the organizer of the conference, yeah, it just ended all the streams. And
it's Adrian.
Someone else.
Adrian, hello. Sorry, Amy.
Hey, Adrian.
And Adrian is muted.
You're
Hello.
muted, sir.
That's better.
Hello, guys.
Hey, good to see you.
Now we've got Adrian on. It's probably a good time to ask, who is going to Berlin next week?
I'm not going. I'm here already.
Emil's going. Yana is going. Randy is going. In fact, all the cool dudes are going. Are you going, Adrian?
I'm in South America now. I'm not gonna make it.
Really?
Oh.
How many contents? So we've got a continent record as well. Or you're not in South America now? Okay, I misunderstood. Is he gone? No, he can't. Adrian.
Yes, I'm here. You hear me?
Where are you now?
I'm in Punta del Este in Uruguay.
Oh, so you are. So you see, you are in. So I'm not crazy or senile, and you are in South America, which means we have how many continents here? 3 only. Let me wake up Jason in Australia.
Yeah, just wake him up.
We need to wake. Oh, Chris. Where's Chris Wilson?
Look at this.
It's a shame though that all the people that are coming now are going to get the crappy audio because of the
yeah, I know,
because of all the 30 people. But
all right, I'm gonna put it on public. We'll break it. We'll break it. Or should I put it on My Circles? Might be better. How about VUC for starters? There's like 400 people. VUC in Linux, okay? That's 700 people or something.
Yeah, I've pushed it out on Twitter as well.
Oh, I did that about 4 times already.
Oh, did you?
To a potential audience of about 8,000 people, but not that
Well,
many.
shall I do it? I might not.
Sure, go ahead.
I might have a few more followers. He said, I'll send it to my 3 followers, shall I?
Oh, just...
All right, now we should.
Don't you just hate when you think you're muted and then then you make noise and then you mute and then you unmute yourself only to find out that you're muting yourself and you've been unmuted for so long.
So well, you need a little indicator for who's speaking.
Oh, I had the indicator, and oh, okay, that one. Yeah, that was what I was telling. I was telling in the beginning of the conference. It's we need data channels for that, and as soon as we have the indicator, we'd be able to actually switch to the active speaker. So,
so a question for those of you who are developers: is there anything particularly done within VP8 that you would be aware of when it comes to screen sharing or presentation sharing, or is it basically the same behavior that you would expect out of video? Because it's sort of fundamentally different content, right? If you're going to do a PowerPoint or a Prezi sort of thing, and people want sort of better quality visuals than you would expect for talking heads if you're, say, looking at a spreadsheet or something like that.
I know that in Jitsi, for example, and I think Chrome is doing, I mean, Chrome, okay, in JitMeet as well, what we do is we basically do a much lower frame rate for desktop streaming because resolution is more important there than frame rate. But that's not a setting for VP8. It's not a VP8 specific thing. We do the same thing with H.264. So personally, I don't believe there's any there are any specific VP8 sorry, desktop streaming settings. Boris, if you, I know you've been looking at VP8. If you're aware of any.
I'm not, but I thought that there were codecs that were developed by companies who were offering products that were specifically for screen capture, and TechSmith and companies like that, and they would give you, absolutely perfect screen capture, but at the risk of you had to have an installable codec. And I was just wondering if there's anything like that in open source that might be able to optimize that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, JPEG, I mean, or GIF or something. You know. If it's static image, there's really no point in sending it down a video codec. If it's static image and you know when it's going to change, then you should just send it down a video. Send it down an image codec rather than a video.
Does that mean using, but if you're initializing, like the way you do a screen share in WebRTC now, you're initializing a video stream and then defining that the desktop is the source as opposed to the camera?
I don't know. No, I mean, if you're going to do it that flexibly, you don't know when it changes. That's the problem. I mean, or rather, the code doesn't know when it changes.
Yeah, you really need to have a specific mechanism that is a document sharing or a desktop sharing mechanism separate from the camera video stream then.
Although, I mean, if you're doing, depending on where you're doing it in the GPU, in theory, the GPU could know when it's changed and decide whether it needed re-encoding at that point, but that's probably out of the scope of the codec itself.
I'm going to take this opportunity and ask, is there anyone here who would be unwilling to appear in the screenshot section on the jitsi.org site? Because this is with...
No. Publish and be damned.
At this point, they're probably not that visible anyway, unless you're taking the full screen of someone.
Make sure you get Adrian drinking that wine.
Who's drinking wine?
Adrian.
Oh, Adrian's drinking wine. Hey. I propose a toast. Of course, my glass is empty, but...
Well, yeah, mine's all gone. Look. Where are we?
It's just Coca-Cola.
Every once in a while, Emil,
Oh,
every once in a while, I am not able to change the focus at all, and then it comes back. You know what I mean? When I can't click on the small thing, nothing happens.
Yeah, I think that Daniel was saying the same thing.
Well, he was talking about video disappearing too, but what happened is that happened a few minutes ago, and then it came back, and now it's gone again. Yeah, it's not surprising with what we're trying to do here. This is precisely why I thought it might be interesting to try to.
Yeah.
That's and now. Okay, now I clicked on Adrian, for example, and although it didn't change, at least the feedback of the blue line came back, because when it's at a certain point, you don't even see that. But I still can't. Now I'm able to. Right now, I'm able to change again. And now when I do it now, there's no latency problem. I'm changing it just like I did in the first few minutes. So I think we're
Peter.
Live in heavens. I thought he was not going to be able to join us.
Where are you, Peter?
Oh, well, he's hearing us, I think. No.
Yeah, can you hear us?
No.
Me?
Yes, you,
yeah.
Peter. Yes, where are you? Over.
Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, that's another continent.
Yeehaw!
So how many continents? 3? Well, if you count the Great Britain as its own continent, right?
Incontinent,
right?
Incontinent.
I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Great,
look,
and we can hear you.
Andy. Come in my pit. Look, you see what's going on here?
All right, I'm going to stop the Hangout on air, folks. Nobody cares, but it's the recording. So thank you, everybody. In case this ever shows as a recording, this has been the VUC 482 with Jitsi, who you can find at jitsi.org, or you can go to meet.jit.si and learn about it. VUC, we're at vuc.me. Check us out on the web. And join us on another Friday. We're on every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. Later.